Hi everyone, I'm Chyill and welcome back to another Battlerite discussion video. Today, I would like to talk about some of the upcoming changes that will be coming with the pre-launch patch or patch 0.14, which should drop within the next few days upon releasing of this video. So a few days ago, I have covered about the new UI, the new Battlegrounds, and the changes to queues. So I'll link you guys to that video in the top right now or in the description below for you guys to watch if you guys want to hear my thoughts about the new UI, the new Battlegrounds game mode, and the changes to queue. So if you don't already know, this new game mode, the Battlegrounds game mode, will replace the casual queue. I don't really agree with that, even though it is subject to change. I feel that there should at least be a casual arena queue so that we don't only have to play arena in ranked if we want to play arena. So like I said, I have linked you guys to that video. In that video is all my thoughts on the Battlegrounds, UI and all this kind of stuff, and of course the queue issue. So I won't repeat them in this video since this video will probably be mostly focused on like the champion updates, the Battlerite changes and stuff that will be coming with the next pre-launch patch. So yeah. So this whole part here is on the Battlegrounds game mode. They didn't really give a lot of new info on the Battlegrounds game mode, so I don't really think I need to say much about it since I've already covered it in a previous video. But here they have the new Battlerite system. So the new Battlerite system is now in place. I'll just read directly from the blog just because. And at the start of the match, select the loadout of 5 Battlerites that all become active immediately. So before this, we have always been playing like 5 rounds, if assuming that you get 2 rounds and the enemy team gets 2 rounds off of each other. And each round you choose a Battlerite at the start of the round, and you slowly progressively build your champion up that way within a single match. So but right now, a loadout of 5 Battlerites will be active immediately from the start of the match. So this changes up quite a lot of things because you'll find that some champions before this, they would get like a big power spike in round 3 or big power spike in round 2 or round 4 and so on. But right now everyone has access to whatever Battlerites they want from the start. And so this makes it, I guess, a little bit more balanced in the sense that all 5 rounds, assuming all 5 rounds are played, will be played with all Battlerites in mind. So of course they will have to change the balance or the power of some of the Battlerites, and also change what sort of Battlerites should be available to all champions right from the start. I think this is an interesting change. It was nice that you can change your Battlerite like in the middle of a match to adapt to how your enemy plays, because if you are playing a completely new enemy, you don't really know what their playstyle is like. So sometimes you may want to adapt your Battlerites to their playstyle. So I'm hoping that you can still change your loadout in the middle of a match to suit that kind of difference in playstyle between enemies. And I'm not sure if you're allowed to do that right now, but we'll see. And I hope that they still allow that sort of flexibility and adaptability within a single match. So anyway, let me continue. You can choose up to 2 Battlerites per ability, with the exception of R Battlerites and Ultimates, which are limited to 1 Battlerite. So depending on some champions have more than 2 Battlerites per ability. Some champions have more than 2 R Battlerites and 2 Ultimate Battlerites. So this effectively limits your loadout, and you can't go like all in into one ability or like all in into your ultimate and all this sort of stuff, which is fair. Some champions now have perk Battlerites that affect movement speed, energy, or mechanics outside of the regular abilities like Ignite, and only 2 of these can be chosen. So if you remember, some of the Battlerites like Agility or something, which just gives you has a passive 10% movement speed, so those are considered perk Battlerites, and you can have up to 2 of that in your loadout. So I like that everyone gets to have their Battlerites from the start. But like I said, I hope there's still the flexibility, and I believe they mentioned about you having multiple loadouts that you can save per champion. So that should be interesting. Like I'm sure they could easily just implement it so that you can change your loadouts in the middle of a match. Well, of course not in the middle of a round, but in between rounds is what I mean. So yeah, very interesting stuff. There's a whole list of Battlerites like at the bottom of this patch notes, which we'll get to later. And it's quite a lot. I don't think I will go through every single change. I'll probably just go through like some of the normal, like, how to say, the base champion changes, and I'll go through like all the Battlerite stuff in separate videos when I update some of my champion guides. So I plan to do that when free-to-play launches, because that's probably the best time to do it. And I will like go through each and every Battlerite and maybe comment on the effectiveness of each and every one of them, give some ideas of some possible loadouts that you can use for each champion. And so yeah, I'll probably do that once free-to-play launches, but for now we'll just go through like some of the changes that comes with this patch. So yeah, UI 2.0 has arrived and brings a fresh new look to the Battlerite menus. So of course we already know that this UI has been coming for quite a while. They've been talking about it, and now they actually finally give us quite a bit more information on what exactly is coming. So the ability to equip mount to specific champions, so that's just a quality of life thing, because some people like to care that, you know, that their mount and their costumes match up and those kind of things, so that's pretty nice. They have an improved friends list, sorting, so they can be organized, which is really great. They added a collection where all items can be previewed, that's nice as well. Just lots and lots of quality of life stuff. Chests, new chat, yeah, I mean, I don't really want to read through all of this. It's mostly just quality of life changes, which is fantastic, because I think it is quite important to like making sure that things are easy, you know, for people to access and play with friends and all of that. So pretty cool. They have a new AFK system, which is great, because sometimes the queues can be quite long and people go AFK, and then you start a match and you realize, oh shit, your teammate is AFK and you're like, you'll be 1 versus 2 or 2 versus 3, and you know, that's just not fun at all. So they have a new AFK system which will penalize people who are constantly inactive and those type of stuff, so that's kind of nice. So there's some new daily quests, event quests and stuff. They've changed the weekly quest to earn 2000 battle coins to 1000, because I think 2000 was a bit silly, but yeah. So just some minor stuff which are very welcome anyways. So moving on to the champion updates, and they pretty much have to update like every single champion because of the new Battlerite system. So they have added like some new Battlerites. They have tweaked some of the older Battlerites, since it might be a bit too powerful to have a strong Battlerite right from the start, right? So they tweaked some of them. They removed quite a lot of ultimate Battlerites. In fact, like there are a lot of if you don't know, like the round 5 Battleites are always the ultimate Battleites, right? And you're always given a choice of 2 of them. And for most champions, there's a clear pick like most of the time. And so it seems like they've removed that clear pick from a lot of the champions, not all, but a lot of them. And so this gives a little bit of choice, I guess, to the player whether they want to use their one of their Battleites to improve their ultimate, which is, I think, that's quite good, because like if they added it in like those Battleites which improve their ultimate in such a big way, I mean, there's almost no variation. Like every loadout will probably have that Battlerite. So I guess it's probably for that reason that they removed those Battlerites. So yeah, let's continue. Ashgar, I think they nerfed or changed his mouse 2 a little bit. They reduced the projectile speed and they increased the knockback range. So I think what this does is that he's more unlikely to chain like his mouse 2s onto one single target like all the time, unless they are like somewhere still within the range, you know. Like sometimes if you play Ashgar, you realize, or rather if you play against Ashgar, you realize that even though you're at the tip of the range for his mouse 2, you get sort of pulled back a little bit when you get hit by the mouse 2, and I think this sort of reduces that a little bit, I think. So yeah, and they nerfed his ultimate a little bit, because Ashgar's voice over line when he uses ultimate starts a little bit late, and so there's almost no notice to when Ashgar uses ultimate. So this is just a minor nerf to Ashgar. So yeah, and I wouldn't really go through every single battle right here, but like there's like just a whole list of them, and you're supposed to pick 5 out of this whole list. For example, like if you're picking Ashgar, you're supposed to pick 5 out of everything. Like so, for example, like these 3 here are will improve Ashgar's mouse 2 ability, And yeah, you can only pick 2 out of these 3, for example, and then like these 3 improves his space ability, you can pick 2 out of these 3. So yeah, that's how the new system works, and I think I quite like it. But of course, we have to see if whether they still maintain that adaptability and variation they can have in between rounds in a match. So yeah, Bako, yeah, not much change other than Battlerite changes. They gave a little bit of a buff to Blossom, so her Tree of Life is slightly more tankier, and they increased the radius a little bit, which is welcome. I think Blossom isn't really like that strong right now, so that's I guess quite welcome. And there's a list of Battlerites. Again, I will go through like their Battlerites in separate videos for each champion once free-to-play launches, because it's not feasible to go through every single thing now in this video, and it'll make this video at least 2 to 3 hours long, probably, maybe even more than that. So yeah, Croak has got his EX Mouse 2 improved a little bit, like the projectile speed has been increased by 10%. I don't really know whether he really needs this buff, but yeah, it's okay. Another thing to know, I will talk about Croak a little bit for some of his Battlerites, because I think it's quite interesting in that he has some Battlerites right now that will make it so that he improves his other abilities when he uses them while stealth. So before this, if you use stealth with Q, all you can do is kind of like, oh, you want to try to stun somebody with your melee attack, but sometimes that's not possible because the moment you stealth, someone jumps away. So so he has some Battlerite like this one, Frog Strike. So using Frog Leap from Camouflage deals 2 bonus damage and inflicts a stun. So right now, say he uses his Q, Croak goes invisible, and the enemy jumps away. If he has this Battlerite, he can use his jump to chase after the guy and still stun them because of this Battlerite. So that's pretty good. Whereas before, all you could do is just break the stealth and try to do something else instead. So a bit of nice utility. I think there's another one for E as well. This one here, Frog Slice, I believe. Using Noxus Lance during Camouflage increases the range by 100% and all this kind of stuff. So pretty cool. I like that change a lot, because it makes playing Croak a little less clunky, and that's always welcome, I think. I think Croak is a champion that has to be dealt with very carefully, and so I don't know if this might make him a bit too strong. I'm not sure. Of course, we have to see when it actually lands, like the patch actually lands. So, but it's just interesting to see that they're giving him a little bit more tools to do like interesting stuff, instead of just always go invis and stun, yeah. So that's pretty cool. Ismo is getting a little bit of a nerf. Like his spacebar recast duration has been nerfed a little bit, and I believe they reduced the power of some of his obnoxious Battlerites, I would say, because some of the Battlerites are frankly quite hard to deal with, and so they changed a bit here and there, added some Battlerites, which I won't go through them right now, just sort of give you guys an idea of the general changes to each champion basically. So Freya has got a bit of a change, and right now her mouse one is part of a 3-hit combo, which deals 10, 10 and 16 damage, and her in cap has been reduced a little bit, which is quite fair, because I think her in cap is quite easy to land if you're quite efficient at inflicting statics onto enemies. You can in-cap them quite easily if you're good at aiming your mouse too as well. So making it goes from a 2-second to 1.5-second in-cap probably wouldn't change very much, but it's a welcome change anyway, since the in-cap of 2 seconds, I guess, is a bit long for such a simple to activate in-cap, assuming you're in a map that is like with a lot of walls, of course. So yeah, from what I can tell from the Battlerite changes as well, it seems like Freya would have a bit more of a focus toward using her counter and being more of a very strong champion statically. So like, she's not as much of a, how to say, jump in and fight kind of champion as before, is what I feel. At least that's the sort of idea I got from the Battlerite changes, but of course we have to wait for the patch to see. Iva's got some little changes, but I think not too much. I know she's got a little changes to her Battlerites, in fact quite a lot of changes, but nothing major as far as I can tell. Jade's got a few changes, and I believe people felt that she was nerfed a little bit, but we have to see. Like, I mean, Jade is quite hard to deal with for beginners, and since there'll be a lot of beginner players coming in with free to play, Jade will be one of the first champions that almost all beginners play. And so yeah, I guess I can kind of see why they want to make her a little bit less hard to deal with, like, you know, for beginners. But again, we have to see how she actually fares in the higher levels after the patch lands. Jumong didn't really have a lot of changes. I think his Battlerite seems, yeah, to be quite mostly the same. Lucy's got her ultimate nerfed a little bit. She's got some changes, and Uldur, I think he's got a bit of a nerf as well, which is fair. I mean, Uldur has always been a pretty strong support, so I can understand that. So yeah, on to Pearl. I think her healing's got a little bit of a buff, and seems like it makes it a little easier to heal allies that are like really far away, because previously her mouse 2 has quite a bit of a travel time, and so it might be a bit hard to heal allies far away. So that's just a bit of a buff to her healing. They nerfed her Q a little bit, but that's fine, and they also nerfed her R. Also it's fine. Like, I feel like her shield, it is a bit hard to deal with at times, but it's, for me, I personally use it more for like removing debuffs and, like, you know, just to shield my ally just a little bit. So 30 to 26 isn't that much of a big deal to me. So yeah, that's okay. And yeah, Pestler's got a bit of a change to his infest, which is fair. Like, they reduce the cooldown, but the cooldown only now starts after he lands, after infesting somebody, which makes sense. Doesn't make sense for the cooldown to trigger once he used that, since it's like he's technically still using his ability and all that. So that's fine. And the Queen has been changed so that the panic is now baseline, but of course the damage has been reduced. So I mean, a lot of people, when they play Pestilence, they pretty much pick the first Battlerite, which gives panic to the Queen. So I guess making it baseline makes sense, because otherwise every single loadout will have this Battlerite, because it's just really, really useful. And so I guess doing it this way makes sense to me, at least with the new Battlerite system, that is. Moving on to Paloma, not much change there, but of course there's all the Battlerite changes, and she seems like she got a few new Battlerites, so that's nice to see. Raygon's got a little bit of change to his EX Moss 1, where he can only have 2 charges of his Slicing Wind rather than 3, which is okay. It's a small nerf, but yeah, because after the Repost nerf and all that, the past few patches, Raygon has been relying a lot more on his EX Moss 1 or Slicing Winds, so this is just to tone down his power a little bit, I suppose. And yeah, lots of changes again. I think Repost got a nerf once again. Poor guy, but he did get a few new Battlerites, which improves his what would I call it? Like his brawler ability, like his ability to just fight out with someone one-to-one kind of thing. So that's kind of cool. Rook, as far as I can tell, nothing much. Moving on to Rukan. Rukan's got a bit of a buff and a nerf at the same time, so maybe it's quite okay, but some people feel like it's more of a nerf than a buff. His Mouse 1 has now a baseline silence, so which makes sense, because again, every Battlerite loadout will have the silence if this is not the case. So that's welcome to see. Of course, they toned down a little bit, like the duration for which the enemy is silenced, but that's fine. But what the big one is, I think, the increased cooldown of Mouse 2, and of course the duration of Curse being reduced. So this makes it so that it's a bit harder for him to deal damage from afar, and also a little bit harder to sort of just trade hits with people, since the curse duration has been reduced. So I mean, I can't really tell like what the full effect of these changes might be. Perhaps there are some like new Battlerites that improve his Mouse 2 in different ways, and so we have to see like what happens after the patch, of course. Moving on to Shifu. They're changing his impale a little bit so that there's a larger burst base damage, sorry, not burst damage. And they also made some changes to his spacebar so that it deals less damage, because previously, like Shifu, when he uses his spacebar ability, like the normal spacebar, not the EX spacebar, he deals like full damage, and it can be quite hard to deal with, especially for beginners. Like, you know, you can't attack him, but he can attack you for full damage, you know. So I guess it's kind of okay. It's a big nerf, honestly, but hopefully the changes to his Battlerite might make up for it, but we have to see. Only time will tell, I suppose. Moving on, Sirius got a bit of change to his spacebar. As far as I can tell, nothing really much except this part here where they removed the pull effect on nearby enemies upon arrival. So before this, like when you jump onto someone with Sirius, you would have a little pull effect on nearby enemies, and that will allow you to hit your charge attack like reasonably easily. So this effect is still present in his EX version, it's just the base version that doesn't have it anymore, which is okay, I guess it's kind of fair. Sirius is, I wouldn't say he's really overpowered, but he is in a pretty decent spot as far as I can tell. So I guess this is warranted, and this gives you a bit more reason to use your EX space, I guess, so that, you know, you have that little pull effect and you get the refresh on your charge attack, and, you know, gives you a bit more reason to use this EX spacebar and spend some energy to use it. So yeah, moving on to Taya. She's got a little bit of a buff, I believe. Like the cooldown on Q has been reduced. The wind bomb E, they removed the fading snare, which I think it was kind of obnoxious to deal with, but it now creates a wind stream that lasts for 2 seconds and grants haste. So they made the wind stream Battlerite previously baseline, because I mean, again, every single loadout will have it, if not, and so that makes sense. And they buffed her ultimate a little bit, which I think is warranted. I believe a lot of people felt like Taya has been in a pretty weak spot, so some welcome change to hopefully buff her up a little bit and see more play, hopefully. So yeah, moving on to Varish, just a bit of a nerf to his EX mouse too, nothing much. And it doesn't seem like there's a lot of changes to his Battlerites as well. He did get a few new ones, which might be interesting, but we'll have to see that in a later video, I believe, because again, I think this video is already at least 20 minutes long. And yeah, I don't want to make this a super long video, just wanted to give you guys an update on the patch notes. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and again, if you want to hear my opinions on the Battlegrounds, the UI in more detail, and of course the changes to the queue, and you know, you want to voice your opinions on that matter, check out the link in the description below. And yeah, until next time guys, have a great day, keep gaming, stay chill, and I'll see you guys in the next one, okay? I'm super excited for this patch, by the way. Alright, bye bye.